So I just finished test driving 2023 S5 with the highest trim available, which I think was called Prestige. That car go for about 50,000 right now. I think they had it 48.3, which is very comparable to the amount that I bought the Lexus for. And here are my thoughts while it's still fresh. Let's start with the exterior. So looks are subjective. Everybody likes what they like. But what I can say objectively, Audi, their looks are very sleek, like a teardrop shape. A5 Sportsback specifically doesn't have any sharp angles, any aggressive lines. It's a very sleek car. Like if you want a more aggressive design and look, then Lexus would be better. Again, it just depends what you like. Another notable things on the outside, A5 Sportsback is a hatch, so you get a lot more room in the trunk. Just looking at it, I think it's about time and a half bigger than the Lexus has. However, the biggest upside with Audi is that this hatchback is going to be so much easier to access. You just lift it up and you kind of see everything and you can reach anywhere. A lot easier compared to Lexus, where you're going to have to like duck and try and push it out. You know, it can be pretty far. If trunk space and accessibility is your priority, Audi wins in this category, hands down. Next, let's talk about interior. It's very polished to perfection in a way where it feels kind of cold and lifeless. You know, very minimalistic. You don't necessarily feel special. You know, like that place doesn't feel special, it feels purposeful. Like everything has its purpose and it shouldn't have anything extra, okay? Where with the Lexus, it's completely the opposite. It has a lot of curves, it has a lot of flow, it has a lot of shapes. It feels like it has a character to it. It feels warm, like you sit in it and you like, wow, this feels cozy. This feels like you're in a very familiar, I can't pronounce this word. You're in a very familiar, okay, whatever. You feel home, you feel cozy. Let's talk about the features and technology. Audi tech is a lot better. You know, it just feels a little bit more modern. You know, you have a whole digital display for your cockpit where you can do a bunch of settings. You want to see your maps in the corner, or you want to see maps the full screen. Do you want to see your Spotify next to the maps and all of the kind of, you can configure it a lot. With the Lexus, it's a completely different story. Like you have a great combination of mechanical and electronic in this very synchronous way that feels very purposeful and like an art, because you have your gauge cluster that's mechanical, right? And you have the actual plastic around it and it moves mechanically, but at the same time the gauge cluster is digital, and then you have a very limited options on what you can see. You know, you can't do the maps or anything fancy like that. Sure, you can see your tires, the gear, the music. You know, if you want tech inside your car, then, you know, Audi would be better choice, because that gets you closer to all of the electric vehicles, right? Just minimalistic designs, full-on screens. The main screen, you know, it's about the same size, nothing special. At the end of the day, you're using, you know, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so there isn't much difference there. However, when it comes to like camera qualities, I mean, hands down, Audi has a way better camera quality. If you're into technology and configurations, yes, Audi is going to be better. If you want something more simplistic and you know it's not going to give you a lot of troubles down the line with all the technology and sensors, and Lexus wins there. Now let's talk about the driving experience. Audi certainly feels raw, a little more aggressive to its inputs, like the steering wheel, it feels very sharp. You know, every little movement you make, the car reacts. And you know, so if you want like a sporty feeling, a little raw and aggressive, that's kind of what Audi driving experience delivers. And same goes for acceleration. Honestly, feels like the Audi is either on or off. Like you push the gas, it's going immediately, and it feels fast. But as soon as you like just even let go a little bit, it feels like the power gets cut off and it just comes to a halt. Like I've driven electrical cars, and that's kind of how it feels with them as well. As soon as you let go of the gas pedal, it feels like it's braking by itself. And that's what, you know, Audi delivers. And again, if you're looking for sportiness, aggressiveness, then it makes sense. Where in Lexus, it feels more refined and smoothed out. And what I mean by that, it doesn't have any aggressiveness to it. You know, you lift off the pedal, it doesn't slow down as aggressively as Audi does, right? The steering inputs are a little bit more relaxed. Now, I have to say, what I really like about the Lexus is the steering wheel has, you know, some heft to it. Audi's steering inputs feels very like linear and aggressive and quick, right? Again, just like as the whole car. With the Lexus, it's quite opposite. It feels like it smoothed out the edges. It smoothed out all of the aggression of it. By no means it's, you know, a super sports car, right? Like I don't think anybody's buying the Lexus and be like, I'm buying for raw power and, you know, dynamics. Like, listen, like Lexus isn't that, you know, it's not slow. It just feels a little more refined for everyday use. Can you take it to track? Sure. Audi will probably perform much better on the track. But it's the daily use that feels much better in Lexus. So that's kind of the inputs and the driving dynamics. The last thing I want to touch for the driving dynamics is the engine and the transmission. So the Audi S5 has 3.0 liter engine, V6 with a turbo. It feels quick and it has a very particular way it accelerates. The power feels kind of more instantaneous and at times a little like jerky in a way where it's like, you know, aggressive. Like you put your foot down, then in a couple of seconds when the turbo spools in, you kind of get hit in the face with all of the power and you accelerate really fast. With the Lexus, it's the opposite. Lexus has 3.5 liters V6, naturally aspirated, so the power delivery is very gradual. You kind of know how the power is gonna feel, right? It's not gonna catch you off guard like it might in the Audi. But with the Lexus, it's very, again, smooth, deliberate, and you kind of know where you're getting. Like it's not gonna, like the acceleration on Audi is much better. It feels quicker. So Lexus is not gonna blow your socks off. I mean, for the everyday driving, more than fine. Now, when it comes to transmission, the same theme continues with the transmission, where Audi shifts faster. It feels a little bit more, again, aggressive, jerkier, right? Like it wants you to drive it fast. Where Lexus, opposite, right? Like it's not gonna be the fastest shifting, but it's gonna do it well for the everyday driving. And plenty fast. It all comes down to whether you want more aggressive inputs or more laid back inputs and more refined feeling. Let's talk about who's Audi for or who's the Lexus for. Audi has a very sporty, because again, probably because it's the S, right? And it's the best packaging for the sportiness. So it's gonna feel a lot faster. It's gonna feel a lot more responsive. It's gonna feel a lot more aggressive. So if that speaks to you, right? If that driving dynamic speaks to you, go with the Audi. The exhaust notes are wonderful, and every time you downshift, it pops and burps. So good, so good. That's one thing I really wish the Lexus had, but it's probably nothing you can fix with an exhaust. So going back to the driving dynamics of Lexus, it's refined. It feels like it's not in a rush. It feels like it's not trying to prove anything to you. And if you need like a car that's going to be, nicer to drive and be inside around town for your commutes with occasional sportiness, then Lexus is better. If you really care about reliability, cost of ownership, smooth, refined, and cozy experience, Lexus wins hands down. But if you're looking for something more sporty, aggressive handling, you like the German refinement when it comes to all of the inputs and the driving experience, and you need like a good amount of cargo that's easy to access it, then definitely go with the Audi. So here are my thoughts on how Lexus IS 350F Sport compares to top of the line Audi S5. Now you know, and hopefully that helps. The biggest tip I can give you is just get out there and test drive. Like, you can do an exhaustive amount of research online, but it means nothing to how the car makes you feel. And the only way to know how the car makes you feel is to actually test drive it. It's how the car makes you feel that's gonna be the main selling point. That's it. Hopefully you found this video helpful. This is sort of my first review. If you have any comments, feedback, let me know. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate if you stuck around to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.